Welcome, my friends, to the Sage of Quay Radio Hour, your home for free and critical thinking, and I'm your host, Mike Williams. Tonight, my very special guest is Nicola Barbosa. Nicola is an alternative health practitioner in the field of quantum healing. The process involves using the ancient art of pendulum dowsing, charts, and sacred geometry tools to find and heal the root cause of health issues. And so, without further ado, here's the conversation with Nicola. Well, folks, we have a great show, and we're going to take a little bit of a different turn today. My other love is alternative health and wellness. As many of you know, I have a hypnotherapy practice, so this is something that's near and dear to my heart. And every once in a while, I like to step away from the conspiracy research and to talk about alternative health and wellness. And to do that today, Nicola Barbosa is with us, and she's going to take us through her quantum healing practice. And quantum healing, Nicola, based upon what I read off your website, is a healing modality. It involves using the ancient art of pendulum dowsing, a series of charts and sacred geometry tools to find and heal the root cause of health issues. So it sounds very, very interesting to me. I did have Chris Kaler on the show about a year ago, and maybe we could talk about that a little bit as far as I know you're using Chris's protocols. But before we get into all that, how did you end up doing this work? Because this is not common, right? This is something that you're not going to find in abundance as far as people practicing quantum healing. So what was your journey in life to get to do what you're doing today?
Well, I grew up in Ireland. I grew up in a big family, 5 brothers, 5 sisters, grew up on a farm. So just from a very young age, I lived around a natural environment surrounded by nature. And my mother always, cooked home cooked food. We rarely ate out, maybe on, family occasion. So from a young age, I was always inclined towards health. My mother and my father, even though, brought up in a Catholic household and, Ireland is a very Catholic country. They did still have a strong belief in healing. So local healers would be common in Ireland. So grew up playing a lot of sport, always into health, went to college for business and recreation management, got my NCF gym instructor. So I was always on that path. Loved sport, loved nutrition. And then after college, I came over to the US and worked in a different career, kind of got away from that whole aspect. So I was looking to make the turn and go back into what I loved, just through my own health challenges. And especially when I had my daughter, my main priority was to keep her healthy as possible, preventative health. So just keep her body just purely healthy. So I was looking into nutrition and I was listening to lots of podcasts, and I came across Chris Kaler on a internet radio show. And the minute I heard him speaking, I was blown away by this modality. It just resonated. I was like, oh, wow, I have to do that. So I listened to every interview he had. I booked sessions with him to see what it was like. And I had great results with that. And he did some healing on my daughter as well. And I seen big difference in that. And then as soon as he had his course available, I jumped on it. So, and that's how it started. So haven't looked back, and it's an amazing modality.
Now, on your website, you list really a lot of areas of health concerns that your quantum healing technique and your approach can help with. And I was wondering if we could talk about some of that. As an example, when somebody comes in and they have anxiety, because I see a lot of clients that come in and they have anxiety issues. How would you address that from a quantum healing perspective?
Okay, so when a client comes to me, first of all, I ask them what would they like to work on. Give me a list of symptoms, signs, symptoms, how long they've had the problem. And so the information is coming from their consciousness. And then I just start the whole process of true quantum healing, which is I grab my pendulum and I work on the chart. So basically, it's finding out where the problem is within the client's body, what's causing it, and then removing the frequency of that problem.
Okay, so that would be the approach for every type of issue that a client would come in?
Yeah, every type of issue. And anxiety, a lot of the time it's related with the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's doing certain clearance in there, other energetic clearance within the aura. They may need to be grounded. So, but the whole process is the same for every client that comes to me.
Okay, let's, another question I had to do with fibromyalgia, because maybe a lot of folks are not aware of this. That is just a label that's given to pain that is not really understood by Western medicine. How would you go about treating somebody that came in and has fibromyalgia? You do the dowsing, and then how does it work
So
after that?
again, I asked them for how they're feeling, how long they've had it, if there was anything particular that happened in their life at that time. Sometimes things are connected. If there are any other problems going on. And the same thing, I grab the pendulum, and first thing we do is ask what question is optimal. So it's very important to ask the right question. Even if you don't ask the right question, how are you supposed to get the right information? So it's very important, first of all, to ask the right question. And in the charts and True Quantum Healing, there's a list of 26 different questions. So I have to find out what question is optimal for that particular client. So every client is treated as an individual. So it could be, what is the person suffering from? What area is not with? What's causing the most resistance? So when you ask the right question, it leads me down the path to the right answer.
Okay, so I'm going to read off, Nicola, some of the areas in which you help clients: anxiety, grief, feeling overwhelmed, trauma of past life trauma. That's interesting. It's something that is near and dear to my heart. Childhood trauma, fibromyalgia, which we just talked about, aches and pains, digestive disorders, bladder issues after pregnancy, heart issues, psychic attacks, and any other problems. So it's a long list of areas in which a client can get some help from the quantum healing. Now, the question I had, and I know what dowsing is, but some of our listeners may not know what dowsing is. So could you take us through that a little bit, maybe some background as to why you use it? And I know that you have a background as far as how it's been used in the past in other civilizations and ancient cultures. Maybe if you could explain it a little bit, that would be helpful.
Yeah, so dowsing has been around for a very, very long time, thousands of years. You'll get different information on exactly how long it has been around, but there's even engravings in caves in Egypt on dowsing. So it's been around a very long time. There's many forms of dowsing. There's pendulum dowsing. People can douse with rods, just a stick. My father, he actually dowsed for the water where we put the well in his home in Ireland. So it's just something that intuitively you grow up using stick dowsing. So there's many different forms of dowsing. What I use is pendulum dowsing. And basically, I'm working with my higher self, my consciousness, my source, and I just swing the pendulum. And when I ask what question is optimal for the client, my pendulum will swing to that particular question. And then I'll find out where the problem is within the body. And the same thing, my pendulum will swing to that particular area in the body, and then moving on to what's causing the problem. So pendulum dowsing is a big aspect of this as well. And it leads us to where the problem is and what's causing the problem.
So I'm very familiar with dowsing myself, Nicola, because in my Reiki practice, I will use the pendulum I will drop it or hang it over the client's chakras or their energy centers. And the pendulum will actually tell me whether that particular chakra or energy center, some may refer to it as an energy center, is out of balance. And once I do the Reiki session, I go back with the pendulum and I just hang or drop that pendulum right above the chakras. There's 7 major chakras in the body. I can see now that the pendulum is swinging the way it's supposed to be swinging when the chakra is in balance. So when it's out of balance, the pendulum might just rock back and forth. It might do nothing. It might spin in reverse. So that's how you know that the chakra is out of balance. So the pendulum to me it's very intriguing, because let me just put it this way. We are never taught in our culture that these types of approaches actually work, that they're meaningful, there are ways in which we can detect issues. And I didn't know this until I got into Reiki, which was around 9 years ago or so. And it became, then it became very obvious to me that this is something that works. So I was wondering now, I don't know whether you want to be able to show this. It's completely up to you. We can put the video into the interview as to how the pendulum, the dowsing with the pendulum, how you do it. Is it over the body of the client, or is it over the questions that you ask? How does that work?
Okay, so I have a series of charts. So all the dowsing I do is on the charts. So a lot of my clients, they're long distance, so I do it over phone or Skype, and we're in the US, Europe, Africa, China. I've worked on clients. So everything is done long distance, but the pendulum dowsing is done on the series of charts that I have. So it's a bit different to the way that you do it. It's the exact same process.
Okay, so the charts, what do the charts reflect? In other words, is it a chart of the body, or is it a chart of some sacred geometry? What are the charts comprised of?
Okay, so the charts are comprised of a list of questions that we spoke about. Okay. It also breaks down the physical body and energetic body. So I'll have a list of all the different systems within the body. And then those systems are further broken down in their own chart as well. So for example, if I'm working on the digestive system, first of all, my pendulum will lead me to that system. And then I have a separate chart listing every area within the digestive system. So let's say you came to me and you had some stomach problems. So my pendulum could swing to your small intestine or your large colon, and then I'd move on to find out where the problem is, or sorry, what's causing the problem. So on my charts, there's a list of problems, or what we call stressors. So then there's hundreds of different possibilities listed in those problems, and then that's where I find out what's causing the problem. So it could be anything from a virus, a bacteria, a parasite, loads of different problems could come up. Okay,
so is it possible to just to maybe read off an example of some of the questions that would be asked? I guess we could just stick with digestive issues, or if there's another health concern you think is a better example, we can go there. Just so that the audience gets an idea of the questions that are asked and how you're able to hone in on the actual issue.
Okay, yeah, so an example of some of the questions are what area is not within the body. So sometimes an area is energetically missing. So if someone's physical body is missing, some of the symptoms could be they just feel disconnected, they don't know what's going on, and just energetically the physical body is missing. Also a particular area of the body could be missing. So if their liver is missing energetically, then that's not going to function to 100% capacity. Sometimes a client's brain could be missing energetically, so they could have brain fog, or just some problems going on there. Another example of a question is emotions. So I have an emotions chart, and there's all different positive and negative emotions in there. So that'll hone in on what emotional problems are going on within the client, and that could be connected to something physically that's going on as well. Another example of a question is what's jeopardizing the health of the client. So it could be just some particular problem within their body, like an excess of sodium and calcium could be within their joints, and then it's causing joint problems, it's causing pain. So these different questions will lead me to different problems for that specific client. Another question could be what area is failing. So their digestive system, for example, could be failing. So my pendulum will swing to the area within the digestive system. Let's say it's the ascending colon, and the problem is a parasite. Then I will go to the parasite chart and find out what parasite is causing the problem. So it could be a leishmania, could be a tapeworm, could be many different parasites.
Okay, so and when you say that the physical body, a piece of the physical body is missing, what do you mean by that?
It's just the energy component of the physical body, so it's missing. Could be any different area, could be somebody's uterus that's missing, then they have a problem conceiving. So it could be any particular area of the body that's missing. It could be a chakra that's missing, the zero chakra or their entire chakra system. So then, just energetically they feel off. So it's just the energy part of their body is disconnected from their physical body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I understand. All right. So now the questions, when you ask them and you hold or dangle the pendulum over the questions, how do you know whether the question, well, what the answer is to the question, I guess? What does the pendulum do to lead you to do the next question or to lead you to the next conclusion?
Okay, so after I douse on what question is optimal for the client, I'll go to another set of charts, which is called the master charts. And that's where every area of the physical body is broken down. So for example, if my pendulum swung to where is the most congestion, then I'd go to the master chart. And on that chart, I would ask where is the most congestion within the client. So then it could swing to the digestive system. So then I'll go onto the digestive system chart. It's a separate chart. And I'll ask where is the most congestion within Mike's digestive system. So it could lead me to your small intestine. And then after I find out the area where the problem is, it's in your small intestine, then I'll go to my stressor or my problems chart. And then I'll douse, I'll swing my pendulum, and my pendulum will lead me to what's the problem within your small intestine. So,
okay. So you go from a macro, so you go from a macro level, and then it sounds like what's happening is you're peeling the onion back and you're going into a micro level. You're putting it through a funnel, a narrowing.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's a great description. Yeah. So then once I find out where the problem is, what's causing the problem, then I use sacred geometry tools. So a lot of healers, they use their hands in healing. I still use my hands, but I'm holding the sacred geometry tool. So it's all words and intent. So basically, if let's say there was a bacteria within your small intestine or the client's small intestine, basically I grab my Vesica Pisces. This is the sacred geometry tool that I use. And with my words and intent, I remove the frequency of that bacteria. So let's say it was E. coli. I just basically removed the frequency of that. All I have to say is E. coli within the client's small intestine falls, and that shatters the frequency of the E. coli.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's energy. So it's like an opera singer singing and shatters a wine glass. So just that vibration shatters the wine glass. So it works the same in healing.
Yeah, that's interesting because frequency has been something that has been known for a long time to be able to tackle disease and health issues.
Oh, yeah. And it's been becoming more common. I see, articles about music shattering cancer frequencies and different sounds. So it's interesting. It's becoming more common. More information is coming out. So that's great as well.
Yeah, we can go back to Rife technology as an example. A lot of it has been suppressed big time. But as you've mentioned, it's starting to really emerge now. More and more people becoming aware of the frequency aspects of life in general. And so with the right frequencies, the concept is you will be able to release whatever the disease is or the parasite or the disorder, because the frequency disrupts the frequency of that parasite. I use a parasite as an example. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you also bring into this, Nicola, as I was going through your website, life coaching and business coaching. So how do you bring in the life coaching aspect of this? What does a client call you or contact you for? What is the issue that they want to try to resolve that has to do with life coaching plus the quantum healing?
Could be anything from mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. So it could be many problems. And then just, different feeling overwhelmed, lack of confidence, lack of belief in themselves. So it covers many different aspects within their life and their business.
Okay.
So I use coaching, and then I incorporate the true quantum healing within it. So for example, I had a client a couple of weeks ago, and we're going through some coaching questions, and then we just shifted to true quantum healing. So it just resonated. Okay, let me bring in the true quantum healing now. And we just worked on the specific problem there and then, and it was just removed energetically through true quantum healing.
And the same thing, I guess, would apply with business coaching. So I would guess something that might, or an issue that might come forth with business coaching would be somebody maybe that lacks confidence in their ability to maybe to get promoted, right, to get a new job and so on.
Exactly, yeah. So a lot of stress, a lot of fear, anxiety, just doing different clearance energetically, law of attraction. Everybody talks about law of attraction, so we can work on that as well. So yeah, a lot of work can be done with true quantum healing. It's amazing. It can cover every problem and any problem. I've worked on land, I've worked on towns, I've worked on people's houses, people's workplaces. So it's amazing what can be done with it.
Okay, now
Yeah.
you held up the sacred geometry tool before, but it wasn't really in frame. I just saw a piece of it. Could you explain it a little bit?
Yeah, so this is the Vesica Pisces. It's the sacred geometry tool that I use. So the Vesica Pisces is this spear or almond shape here. I also have 2 pyramids base to base within it. And then I also have a sun ring. So the sun ring is platinum, and then the Vesica Pisces and pyramids are coated in gold. So this acts as an amplifier and a conductor of energy. So it allows the healer to go to deeper levels, and then it also protects me during healing as well. Sometimes healers, they take on the problems of what they're working on. So this gives me a layer of protection, and it absorbs the impact. So sacred geometry, it's everywhere around us. It's in our bodies. It's out in nature. If you look at Washington from an aerial view, you will see the Vesica Pisces shape. And then you'll see, I can't remember, but that tall white building, the Washington Monument.
Washington Monument, yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually sitting in a Vesica Pisces shape. So there's a whole long history, occult history, going back to that. But it's everywhere around us. It's in advertising, company logos. The Vesica Pisces shape is actually in MasterCard logo. It's in Chanel, Dolce & Gabbana, Bloomingdale's. It's in many different logos. So sacred geometry is everywhere around us. It's just we're not taught about it in school. You don't
Right.
see TV, and it's not something, we're taught about on a daily basis. So it's just that information that has been cut off or hidden from us. But it is everywhere around us. It does carry a frequency. So for whatever reason, advertisers use it in their logos for one reason. But within healing, I use it to amplify the healing within the client and allow it to go to deeper levels and then protect me as well.
Okay, so does it actually remove energy? Let's say there's energy that's not healthy. Does it take it out, but does it also put in good energy? In other words, is it multi-directional, goes both ways, or does it just take out?
Okay, yeah, so there's a couple of different factors in this. So when I use the sacred geometry tools, I'm also using my words and intent. So that's very important as well. Just our words are my intent to heal and remove the problem. So when, let's say, for example, there was a E. coli bacteria within a client's small intestine, I just say within the client's small intestine, E. coli bacteria false. So that removes the frequency of the E. coli bacteria. But then after I remove a problem, I say for that area true. So I would say within the client's small intestine, true. And that raises the frequency of your small intestine. So once we remove a problem, then it's kind of like we heal the area.
Okay, I see. So you're taking out first, and then putting back in. So you're taking out. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
taking the problem out and then raising the vibration of the area so it can function at a higher level.
That's very interesting because in hypnosis, that's exactly what we do. So when we are working with a client and we are releasing an issue, resolving a conflict, we have to make sure that we put back. Because if you don't put back, then what happens is the mind senses that something is missing because something used to be there. Whether it was good or not, it really doesn't matter. It just, the mind knows that something used to be there and now it kind of feels a little awkward or things seem a little out of place. So you have to make sure that you put something back in. And what you put back in is the good stuff. It replaces the bad stuff.
Exactly, yeah. And then it raises the vibration of the area and then it's functioning at a higher level. So, that energy, is going to be fully gone and it can't come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, are there any clients that you have had, and I'm talking about their issues, not their names, not them personally,
Yeah.
but issues that stick in your mind that you think about it and you say, that was very good. In other words, they came in with something that maybe that they thought, was going to be something that they would have to live with for a long time. Modern medicine, Western medicine was not helping them. But after they came to you, they walked away a healthier, better person.
Oh yeah, many different examples and just different levels of problems. One example could be addiction. So, a particular client went to many different alternative modalities, and the addiction would go away for a little while, but then it'd come back. She tried different things, and then she contacted me regarding true quantum healing. And after 2 sessions, her addiction was completely gone. So the client always felt the urge to drink and couldn't control it, even no matter how, hard she tried. So just 2 sessions of true quantum healing removed many different layers. And so probably 8 months later, 10 months later, and still the problem gone.
And that's interesting because that's a tough one for Western medicine and counselors and therapists to be able to get people to come off of addiction. It's very, very difficult. And I can tell you that in my own practice, I've worked with folks too, and I've had quite a bit of success in getting people to remove themselves from those addictions or those vices. So it doesn't surprise me at all that you doing the energy work are able to accomplish what you just took us through. It's so interesting to me that the work that you do and others like yourself, it's just really not, it's not out there. It's not something that is marketed to the masses. Of course, everything that's marketed to them is Western medicine. It's about going to get drugs, or it's about surgery, because that's what Western medicine is really about at the end of the day. That it's 2 components to it, to kind of, if you boil it down, it's surgery and drugs. That's really what it is. And also then you have the traditional types of counseling and therapies and stuff like that. Not that that's bad stuff. I'm just saying that it could take a long time to be able to work through a lot of these issues, where with some of the alternative health and wellness modalities, you can really truncate the amount of time that you're investing in trying to clear yourself from an addiction, as an example, right? So one of the questions I did want to ask you is, how many sessions in general does a client have to come in for, or if you do it remotely via Skype, do they have to attend in order to be able to see benefit? I'm assuming it depends upon the person and the issue, but I was wondering if you can fill us in on that a little bit.
Yeah, so it does depend on the individual and then how long they've had a problem. So sometimes chronic problems can take more sessions. We've had great success in just, removing a problem with just 1 session. And sometimes we work on many different problems in 1 session. So it depends on the client, what the problem is, and then how long they've had it. So usually we recommend 2 to 3 sessions for the client just to see, a big improvement. And
Okay.
gives enough time to remove enough layers. But even just in 1 session, like for example, the client with addiction was only 2 sessions, and I worked on that particular client in different problems as well. And, 10 months later, she's returning and coming back to me because she sees the success and she sees the changes and the differences. And the big thing is that the clients can feel the difference. There's no test, just to,
Right.
okay, Nicola, what test do you have, just to see, is the problem gone? They actually feel the problem. They can feel their heart problem gone. They know their addiction is gone. They can feel the pain gone from their joints. Their migraines are gone. So that's how the clients can feel it as well. Yeah.
Okay, so addiction, like I said, it's one of those things that from a traditional health perspective can be very challenging to overcome. Have there been any types of diseases that you've been able to help clients with that from a traditional medical perspective, might be something that the client was told that is not something that they're going to be able to overcome, or you're going to have to be on medication for the rest of your life? Does an example come to mind where you work with somebody where they were told those types of things, but after they came to see you, they don't have to take medication for the rest of their life, as an example?
Oh yeah, many different, just like for pain, physical pain, painkillers are a big problem nowadays, opioids. So just for physical pain, for example, a client with muscle pain, joint pain, their doctor could tell them, okay, you have arthritis, there's nothing we can do for it, here's a pill. And that's how they treat it, and it works for some people. But clients that come to me, an example of what that problem could be would be leaky gut. So the pain is in their muscles and their joints, but where the problem is actually, the root of the problem is within their gut. So there's leaks and holes and breaches within their ascending and descending colons. And then bacterial toxins, bowel toxins are leaking into their body and causing pain. So just by, removing all the toxins, healing up the gut energetically, because we use healing energies as well. We use quantum cells of life, stem cells. So it's amazing what it can do. And then once all that is healed up and the different problems removed from their body, then their joint pain goes away and muscle pain goes away, and they don't have to take the pill anymore. So same for different heart problems. Worked on clients for just racing heart, beating heart, palpitations, pain. So there's many different examples. Yeah.
Okay, that's very good. That's very good. I'm a firm believer in holistic approaches to health and wellness, and like I mentioned before, the problem is that information is not readily available. In other words, like if you want to learn something about traditional Western medicine, it's not hard to go to websites like WebMD and the Mayo Clinic and stuff like that to go get the lowdown on whatever, whether it be the drugs or the symptoms, the disorder, the disease. So in other words, it's packaged very nicely. But for us, for you and I, and people who do work like us, it's kind of spread out there. And the person who is a potential client really has to do a lot of hunting and pecking and research, right, in order to kind of bring things together. That's what I have found. In other words, they don't want us to have a cohesive approach to alternative wellness and health. I think, and this is my opinion, you may not agree with me, but I think it's intentionally made difficult for folks that are suffering from health issues to learn more about the types of work that we do. And many times we're just chalked up as, it's just out there, wild, quackery stuff. In the meantime, we're actually helping people.
Yeah, that's it. And the majority of clients have to go looking for it. It's not something, like you said, is ready, available. You turn on your TV and you see advertisements about drugs, different forms of drugs. You see it everywhere, but you don't see anything about energy healing and what it can do, and frequency and vibration and raising the vibration of your body. So a lot of clients have to go looking for it. And usually when people are in enough trouble and the medical route is not working for them, or they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then they look for an alternative. And, it's a healing journey on their own, just going down that path. So, and it is becoming more common. I see a big change in people looking for other ways to help them. Yeah.
Now, something I want to touch on, and maybe some of the listeners are waiting for us to talk about it, so we will talk about it. The whole energetic aspect of this. Again, with Western medicine, what happens is they never talk about the energy. They never talk about the fact that there is something other than the physical body that can be at play. Western medicine focuses on the physical body, and they look at the body as very similar to how a auto mechanic would look at a car. It's a vehicle, and they never look outside of the physical body for solutions. So in my practice, I call it transpersonal hypnosis, which means beyond the person, beyond the body. So we introduce spiritual aspects into the equation. And when you do this, when you bring in the spiritual aspects, or you bring in, maybe some people don't like the word spiritual, we can call it aspects of expanded consciousness, and you actually increase the number of tools in your toolbox where you're able to use to help the client to feel better, or to overcome something, or to resolve a conflict. Now, I know you and I spoke about this a little bit when we talked, I guess, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but one of the things that I can do, and people are probably thinking he's a lot weirder than we thought, is I can see auras. And if I'm in a crowd somewhere or I'm in a group, I can see the aura around somebody. And usually, typically, it's around the shoulder area, up around the head. And an aura which is healthy is very radiant, and it has a very bright color to it, like a yellow or a lime green, or a bright white with a blue hue to it. But an aura that is damaged doesn't have that radiance. It doesn't have those bright colors. It actually is kind of a gray color, and it hangs low to the body. It's not radiating. It's basically suppressed. And so what I learned from actually being able to see that, because like I said, I can see auras, is that there is an energetic component to this. There is something going on. And folks that have auras that are very healthy, generally speaking, are people themselves who are very healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally. Not to say we don't have our bumps in the road, but generally speaking, you're a pretty happy camper going through life. You're able to manage life properly. And, the road is, like I said, might have a couple of bumps, but there's a lot of smooth surface to drive on. But folks who have auras that are not healthy, they tend to have a lot of challenges and issues in their life. This has been my experience. And also, I found that in the work that I do, that especially their lower chakras are way out of alignment, especially the root chakra, which is the very first chakra at the base of your spine. Was supposed to radiate a red color. So the reason why I'm setting this up is because I know that, based upon you and I talking previously, that you have come across energies which are not healthy, right? There might be negative energy that latches on to a person, and I was hoping maybe you could talk a little bit about that. What has your experience been with negative energy being introduced into somebody's person, whether it be to the physical body or even their energetic field, and essentially distorting it or making it unhealthy?
Yeah, so you mentioned the aura, and within the charts here, we have like 70 to 80 different areas within the aura listed out. So I would dowse to find out where the problem is within the client's aura. But yeah, like negative energies do play a big part as well. In a lot of problems, there's always a physical component and an energetic component within a problem within a client. So those two areas have to be removed in order for the health problem to completely go away. But within the aura itself, yeah, like I work a lot within the aura, within the source self, consciousness, third eye, chakras. In our charts, we have 14 different chakras, and within each chakra, there's 7 different layers. So we get down very deep into where the problem is, and different types of negative energies do play a problem. So it's just a matter of identifying that negative energy, and universal laws, once you identify it and ask it to leave, that negative energy component has to leave. So it's all frequency and vibration again.
I've had experiences with my work. It doesn't happen very often, but they have definitely happened where these negative energies could be in the form of entities or beings that have attached themselves to somebody. And so I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. I'm saying that I have experienced this myself with clients that I have worked with. So have you run across things like attachments where an energy has attached itself to somebody?
Oh yeah. And every client I've worked on, there's been energetic attachments, so they do exist. I describe it as an unseen world around us. We can't see these energies, but they do exist. The analogy that I use is if you're in a dark room and you shine a light and all you can see is that area of the light, there's a whole other area of that room that you don't see. And that's like how I describe these negative energies. We can't see it, but they do exist. And they do latch onto different areas of the client's body. So if there's a problem within the client's liver, you know, the physical problem could be a virus, but then there's actually an energy attachment. So I have charts here and we have loads of different names in here to describe that particular energy. So I douse and it's assigned a name, let's say, and then, you know, you have to identify it by a particular name. And then once I identify what energy it is, then I just remove it with the Vesica Pisces, and that energy is removed and I send it off to ether.
Okay.
Yeah, and then again, just heal up that area by saying true. So.
Have you ever had situations where that negative energy was recalcitrant, meaning it really was really pushing back about releasing and leaving, that it was entrenched?
Yeah, that can happen. A lot of times we have to remove other different layers and layers upon layers to actually get to that one negative energy, because just that negative entity could be keeping that problem within the client. You could remove the physical component and, you know, you balanced our chakras, but if that entity is not removed, then the problem keeps recurring. So sometimes, yeah, like I will feel when the problem is gone, I feel it within my gut. That's my source self. So when I'm removing a problem, I can feel the release there. Some people will feel a pull on the Vesica Pisces, like my mentor Chris. He will feel a pull on the Vesica Pisces like a fishing line, but I feel it within my gut, my source self. So once that energy is removed, I feel the release, and then I know it's gone then. So
okay.
Yeah, sometimes the pull will be stronger. Sometimes it just goes instantly. So it depends on the energy. And then a lot of it depends on, you know, different alignments. You know, after, let's say, certain energetic shifts, it's easier to remove some entities. They're removed quicker.
Okay. So when I talk about this, because folks will be asking, well, how do the negative energies get there to begin with? And I'll give you my explanation, and you can tell me whether you agree with it. And then I would like to obviously get your insights. I explain to folks that the way they get there is that they look for essentially cracks where they can, a little opening in which they can slip in. And so those cracks, based upon my experience, occur when somebody is leading a life where there are a lot of vices, as an example, addiction being one, right? So if you're a heavy drinker, if you're into drugs, if you have other types of addictions which are unhealthy, if you have a lot of rage and anger and so on, these are all aspects that will eventually put cracks in the door. And these negative energies, they wait for that. And as soon as that crack just opens up a little bit, that's their way of being able to slip in and then attaching themselves or housing themselves within that person's physical body, maybe even their mental body, right? So is that along the lines or similar to how you view how these negative energies introduce themselves into a particular person?
Oh, yeah, it's along the same lines. People, you know, low in energy, they're vibrating at a lower level, going through emotional problems, stress in life. Even while people are sleeping, their guard is down. So there's an area within the body that we work on called a dream self and sleep self. So they can enter through there. There's also such a thing as stargates and portals. You know, they exist, and they can enter. It's like a doorway where they can enter through as well. And then just different traumas in life. People, you know, drinking heavily, using a lot of drugs, their vibration is lower, and these energies can enter that way as well. So there's many different ways that can enter.
I find it very interesting that in our society and our culture, the activities that they would like us to participate in are all pretty much unhealthy, right? When you think about it, the food is not healthy. What we drink typically, unless you're, really focused on making healthy choices, is not healthy. There's fluoride in the water. There's aspartame in soft drinks. So the point I'm trying to make is that it's almost as if the environment in which we exist in, the realm that we exist in, is actually fostering those cracks in the door that I was talking about before. It's very interesting to me. And to the degree that people can be wiser about the choices they make health-wise, which means what you take into your body, it's working out, being as fit as you possibly can. But there's also a very big component of this is the spiritual aspect of it, right? The spiritual disciplines and being connected back to spirit. This is how I explain it to friends and to some clients when we get into this conversation. So do you think too, or am I being too conspiratorial, that the environment in which we operate in has a lot of negative influences and negative inputs into our mind-body-soul connection?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of programming out there for, everything we see on TV on what to eat and what to do and entertainment. None of it is really healthy. It's,
right.
Adults acting like children, let's say, in a sense. Oh yeah, from the water supply is not healthy. It's just basically the same water recirculated back and forth, and, it's dead water, basically. So just anybody trying, go to findaspring.com and you'll be able to find a local spring in your area. It's a great tool, findaspring.com, anyone looking for healthier water. The food supply, oh yeah, it's, like you said, aspartame, all different additives, GMOs are a big problem. Even just GMO apples now, GMO salmon.
Yes.
You really have to, do your homework and know exactly what you're buying and stay away from packaged food. The amount of additives in it, the amount of soy, amount of GMOs is ridiculous in food nowadays. There's a big movement for GMO labeling. So it's like a trade-off. Oh, GMO should be labeled, but they shouldn't be there in the first place. So it's kind of like, what are people willing to accept? It's like we're given a bone labeled GMOs and we have to fight for that. But it should be a basic human right to have, good natural food. But we have to fight for that. So, and then even the air is polluted. I know people talk about chemtrails and, it's no big deal. It's just, planes flying back. But I remember when I was younger and you'd see the jet stream and it just dissolves instantly. And now it's just lingering in the air for, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And yeah, so even in my chart, chemtrail bacteria comes up. So clients that just have this niggling cough, a cold that won't go away, have chemtrail bacteria in it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Other different issues like strontium. So it's just different heavy metals that are in chemtrails that it comes up with in clients. Yeah. So there's many different factors that clients could, look at to get themselves healthier. Food, water, sleep is so underrated. It's free, but the amount of healing it can do to the body, just getting to bed by 10:30 at night and getting that 8 hours sleep, because it goes through such, healing, regenerating cycles within that 4-hour time frame from 10:30 to 2:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, just moving, getting out and moving. Everybody's looking for, the next diet fad. That's what we're sold on TV. This diet is going to improve your health. This exercise is going to improve your health. So you have to go looking for the information. If anyone is looking for a book or anything on how to get healthy, one that I would recommend is by Paul Chek. I don't know if you're familiar with him, CHK. No. But the title of the book is called How to Eat, Move and Be Healthy. And it's absolutely amazing. So it treats you on an individual level. He doesn't feed you, oh, eat this or do this, but it identifies, through a series of questionnaires, first of all, how healthy the different areas of your body are, and then gives you different tools on how to improve your health and, what food suits you. So people could have a different pattern type on the type of food you could eat. So it's an amazing book, and he has great videos out there on YouTube as well. So a whole holistic approach on how to get healthy, yeah.
Well, what we'll do is we'll put the links in the description box.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that. And I'll also put the Chris Keeler interview that I did with Chris about a year ago. It's on my Mixcloud channel, so I'll put that in the description box also.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, Nicola, that you'd like to talk about? Anything else that comes to mind or that you wanted to get the audience to understand a little bit more about?
Regarding healing, yeah, just be open to the idea. I don't know how much of your audience, I know you mentioned conspiratorial aspect, but how many of them are actually into alternative healing. But just be open if you're going through anything, any health problems, emotional, spiritual. Just do look into alternative methods, and you'd be amazed at the results and how it can heal you. Yeah.
Yes.
So just be minded to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So there's a lot of excellent alternative healers that are practicing, and their modalities, they may differ, but they're very, very dedicated to their work. And I have said this on a number of shows, Nicola, and I'll say it here on this show. The football field is 100 yards, and many people only focus on the physical aspects of life, and that's the first 50 yards of the football field, right? Mm-hmm. And they play there. Their whole life, they play 50 yards of football. But there's another 50 yards of the football field that makes up the 100 yards that has to do with spirituality. It has to do with us as energetic beings. It has to do with metaphysics. And if you are only playing half the field, then you are missing half your life, because our existence is both physical and spiritual. And so a lot of the work that you're into and I'm into and many, many others helps to develop that spiritual aspect of us, to bring that awareness to us from a mind-body perspective that there are other ways, and healthier ways, less intrusive ways, to be able to feel better and to overcome disease and disorders and issues in general. So I tip my hat to you and all my other fellow alternative healers and practitioners for all the work that you guys are doing. It's very good work.
Oh yeah, it's more like a vocation. Everybody is drawn to this type of work, but for me, I was like, is the 9 to 5, is that all there is to life? Is that it? There has to be something more. So I was looking for something more, and when I came across True Quantum Healing, I knew instantly I'd found it, and I absolutely love it. What it's done for me, my family, my clients, it's amazing what it can do. And if only more people knew about it, how you can treat different problems, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, anything can be worked on. Houses, like I said, can be worked on. Land. I've done healing on Ireland, for example. Just such a high suicide rate there. So just like people, countries have their own chakra system, they have their own source, aura, yeah. So it was just a lot of energetic problems removed out of there. So it's absolutely phenomenal what can be done. And I think times are changing. People are looking for alternative routes, and their consciousness has risen, and there's a shift, and they are starting to go back to, let's say, the old ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Old doesn't mean that it wasn't good.
No. Just means that the way of doing things was
different. Yeah. Different and many times better. Now, Nicola, your website, how do people get in contact with you?
You have to go to nicolakb.com, NICOLAKB.com. They'll be able to find me, and they'll be able to reach my Facebook page, my YouTube channel through there as well. And if anybody has any questions, about how this works, and want to talk to me about any problems they're going through, just send me an email and I'll get back right to them.
Now, if somebody wants to come see you in person to do one-on-one work in your office, you're out of Boston?
Yeah, I'm in Boston. A lot of my sessions, the majority of them are through Skype and phone. But if anybody did want to meet in person, it is an option as well. But it works the exact same way. It's energy. So it works the exact same way over phone and Skype as it does in person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Nicola, this has been a fabulous discussion. I'm really glad that we connected. And you can come back anytime to talk about whatever it is that you'd like to talk about. or any new discoveries with your work. I'd love to hear them, and I know the audience would love to hear it. And I think that'll be it. I'll try to get the show out as soon as I possibly can, because I did let some folks know that I was doing this show, and they were very interested, especially my friends in the alternative health field. They were very, very curious about and inquisitive about us doing this show.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Mike, for having me on. I greatly appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Excited, yeah.
And that concludes another Sage of Quay interview, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did. Links to my guests' websites and social media are listed in the show notes below. And as always, I'd like to thank everyone for listening and visiting the blog. You can get to the blog by typing in sageofquayradio.blogspot.com, or simply head over to our hub website at sageofquay.com. Also, if you get a moment, please visit laboroflovemusic.com to listen to my album, Leaving Dystopia. And remember, live in truth and always serve creation. It's really that simple. See everyone next week. Be safe, enjoy, and God bless.